In this video, we will discuss two more examples in completing squares. So first example is 3x squared plus 5x. So here, the coefficient of x squared is 3, which is not 1. It's different from the examples we've seen in the first video. Now, what do we need to do here to complete the square? In other words, we need to find a way so that we can transform this problem into something that is similar in the first video. So then we can use the same method to complete the squares. In other words, can we transform this problem into a quadratic form so that the coefficient of x squared becomes 1? And then we can use the same method. In order to do that, and this is a very simple technique, which is to factor out 3 from x squared and 5x. So once we factor the 3, and then each term got to be divided by 3, so 3x squared becomes 3, and 5x divided by 3, it becomes 5 over 3x. So by factoring out a 3, and we transform the problem into completing square of a quadratic form where the coefficient of x squared is 1. And that quadratic form is inside the parentheses here. Now we can use the same method we discussed in the first video to complete the squares. And we need to add a square, subtract the square, which is the top corner piece. And the area of that top corner is going to be the side squared. And the side of that little square is going to be exactly half of the coefficient of x. So the coefficient of 5x is 5 over 3 here. And to take half of it is you either divide it by 2 or multiply by 1/2. So 5 over 3 multiplied by 1/2, we got a 5 over 6. So that's why we got a 5 over 6 squared minus 5 over 6 squared. Now the first 3 terms is the area of a huge square. And we can write it into the perfect square form that is in terms of the side square. And the side of the huge square is going to be x plus 5 over 6. And now we get a x plus 5 over 6 square minus 5 over 6 square inside the bracket. And it's almost done. The only thing we need to do is to reduce it to the simplest form possible. And so we square 5 over 6, where we get a 25 over 36. And the last step is to distribute the 3 into the bracket. Distribution means we need to multiply each term in the bracket by 3. And 3 multiplied by 25 over 36, and we can cancel 3 top and bottom, and 36 divided by 3, which is 12. So that's why the last term is 25 over 12. As you can see in this particular example, what we did is to factor the 3, and so that the coefficient of x squared becomes 1. And once we get that term form, and then we can use the same method we discussed in the first video to finish the problem. And that gave us an idea about how we complete squares of any quadratic form with any coefficient for x squared, which is to factor out whatever the coefficient of x squared, and then we will make the coefficient of x squared be 1. The next example is very, very similar. The only difference is we got one extra constant term right here, which is minus 2. As you remember, what we did in the first video with 3 terms of a quadratic form is we just ignore the constant term at the beginning, and we deal with it towards the very end. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And we factor the 3 from the first 2 terms, and we just leave the minus 2 towards the very end. We don't deal with it at this point. But as you can see, some people will ask, can I factor 3 from the 2 as well? The answer is yes, you can. But unfortunately, you're going to make this problem more tedious and complicated. It's not worth it. And so my suggestion is to leave the minus 2 towards the very end. And now we only focus on the first parentheses, which is x squared plus 5 over 3x to complete the square there. And you can see this is exactly the same we did in example 1. So to avoid all the steps that we did early, and I will just use the result we have from the previous example, which is 3 times x plus 5 over 6 squared minus 25 over 12, and then minus 2 towards the very end. And this minus 2 is copied from the last step. So now what we have to do is combine the last two constant terms together. And as you recall, what we did in the first video is to find the common denominator so we can combine these two fractions together. And so we rewrite that minus 2 as 24 over 12. And then all we have to do is combine the numerators together, which is minus 25 minus 24. So the answer is 3 times x plus 5 over 6 squared minus 49 over 12.